Muted.
Good afternoon. We're going to talk today about the revised process for the pre-K program review. We have a small group of folks that are participating on the program review webinar because we're in our fourth year in universal preschool, and so this begins our second round of the triennial pre-K program reviews. The really cool thing about this round is that not a lot has changed as far as content. Policy 2525 has pretty much stayed consistent. After 14 years of building our universal pre-K system, we have a solid system now in place. And so some of the changes that are taking place are just smaller policy changes and then some changes with technology. So that's what we're going to talk about. So we're going to do two things through this webinar. We're going to go through the review process, and it's before, for those of you who participated before, it was a 1.5 to a 2-day process, and where we were actually out in the sites. And beginning this year, it will be a 1-day process for the majority of counties, but it will actually begin with an online desktop review submission. So your policies and procedures will be uploaded onto OneDrive beginning this year, and we're going to talk about that. So we're going to go over the review process, and then I'm going to share the process for file sharing that we're going to actually for this year utilize through the OneDrive system out of Microsoft Office 365. So let's go ahead and get started. I want to take you briefly through the review process. The program review process document has changed a little bit. So it's basically been revised to talk about the intent and then the key areas and how the program review process is organized, and then we go actually into procedures and then the tools that are utilized through the process. So what we've done through the procedures is break the process into 10 steps. So anyone being reviewed this year will have 10 steps that they will that will have to be completed as you go through the review process. Might seem like a lot, but we've actually tried to streamline it as much as possible, and those 10 steps even include the steering team process too. So there may be pieces in the 10 steps that you won't have to specifically do, but that the steering team will do. For instance, when you get your report, that's included in the 10 steps too. Before we go into the procedures, I just want to take just a moment to talk about the intent of the pre-K program review. In Policy 2525, it says that once every 3 years, each program will be reviewed, and the intent is to provide ongoing individualized technical assistance and to support in implementation of Policy 2525. And what we really know that should happen is that results and recommendations from the pre-K program review should be included in your continuous quality improvement process. So as you develop your CQI plans and you have health and safety checklists and child assessment data and other data sources that you may have, other classroom observations, other monitorings that you receive, either through things like OEPA or Head Start program reviews, all of those results should be considered data sources that can be used in making decisions to improve your process. So this is just another source of data that you can utilize for your continuous quality improvement process. And this is very specific to your pre-K program and looks at Policy 2525 elements to support that process. And we've also included the policy in this piece of it as well. And when we do the pre-K program review, we organize the whole process, including the observation process and the file review process, into 4 key areas. So when you create your online portfolio of all of the areas, it will be designed around these 4 key areas, and we also include a graphic to help you with that. And I'll just pull up the graphic right here so that you can see. So the 4 key areas are universal access, county collaborative early childhood teams, curriculum instruction and assessment, and program assessment and continuous quality improvement. So those are the 4 big rocks, the 4 key areas. And every piece of the policy, every section of the policy falls under one of those 4 areas. This didn't change from the way, for those of you who've been through the review before, this hasn't changed. We tried to change as little as possible to make sure that we were, not completely being invasive as you prepared 3 years ago and now you're preparing again for your review. So, so what you will do is organize. You'll have 4 folders, 4 electronic folders, and then subfolders for each of those 4 key areas. And so you can actually directly correspond each of the sections of the program review or of the policy 2525 to the program review. And it's done in these 4 areas. And so let's just look at this for just a second. When you look at universal pre-K access, that's your eligibility and enrollment, your attendance procedures, school readiness, and transition. So all of those 4 sections are captured in your documentation under universal pre-K access, and so on and so forth for the other 3 key areas. And we'll also included in the document are tools to help prepare you for that. So I'm just going to kind of skip down in the document to the desktop document checklist. And this is a list of materials. This is actually a checklist for teams to utilize as a tool to prepare. So under each section, you can see what you will need to place in each section. Now, for those of you who completed the review before, you'll know that 1.1e was incorrect in the document before. That's been corrected to illustrate the required documents. So if you utilize this list to prepare your online portfolio, you will be able to capture the policies and procedures that we will need to look at. So it's a 2-page document embedded right in this revised process. And you can see all 4 sections are included. And then I want to share with you the program review team checklist. Now, the team checklist is the checklist that we will actually utilize. The team will have an electronic version of the checklist that we will be sharing. So all of the team members who are reviewing your electronic portfolios will utilize the same checklist online, and what we do is divide the sections among the reviewers. And what you will get at the end of the process is actually this document with evident or not evident, and then comments. So you will actually get a final version of the program review team checklist at the end of your program review, and we'll talk about the timelines when we talk about the procedures. But I just wanted to share those with you that's what you'll see. That's one of the 3 documents that you will get when you get your program review report. So I'm going to go back up to the procedures, and I'm just going to take you through the procedures step by step. And I'm just going to pause for a moment and see if we have any questions. So far, we do have one question. Is the checklist available now for us to use as we work on monitoring files? As soon as we conclude this webinar, I will email the revised process, which includes the checklist. So you'll have those today, and you'll also be receiving links to begin uploading your files through your electronic submission. And we'll go through each of those pieces in the webinar and how to do that. So let's look at the procedures. This is probably the most dramatic change of the policy or the process so far. What we tried to do is streamline the whole process so that it's very sequential and it makes sense. So when we came out historically, what we did is we spent one day reviewing files. This time, when we come out, we'll be out only one day, except for the exception of Kanawha County, which is very large, so we'll be doing classroom observations for 2 days. But for the rest of you, it'll be a one-day visit. It'll be classroom observations in the morning and a core team interview in the afternoon. Before that, and as part of the memo that went out, it noted that the documents must be electronically submitted no later than November 6th. On the second page, or on the last page with the schedule, it actually said November the 2nd. We extended that an extra week to give as much time as possible before we really had to start delving into the files. So November 6th is the actual deadline for upload, and I think it's a Friday afternoon, so by the end of the day Friday, we're asking that the documents be electronically submitted, and we'll talk about that as we talk about submission. So the first step that we do, the first step in the process is actually the steering team will look at who will make up the review team. So not every person on the steering team will be a part of each review team. It just depends on the availability of our core team. And so sometimes there's 3 of us, sometimes there's 2 of us. In some instances, it's all 4 of us. It just depends on the availability of the steering team members, and sometimes it's other members of the Office of Early Learning as well. And there are a few different staff from the DHHR who are able to participate and help out sometimes too. So what happens is we will determine who is on which team and who will be reviewing what sections of the file for each county. And then step 2 is your preparation, is the core team for each county's preparation. This will be from now until November 6th. The team will upload the electronic files in the 4 key areas and submit to have the submission of your files. So then the next step is we begin the pre-K program review team that's assigned to your county will review. They'll have a schedule of review for the sections that everyone has to review, and then they will generate questions that they want to ask in preparation for the core team interview. So questions are determined as reviewers look at files and ask questions. If there is something missing, one of the team members may give you a call to ask if maybe there was, an error in upload or something like that. We will, if we do have questions about if there's a missing document or something, we will definitely let you know and give you a chance to upload that, because we do know that technology sometimes is tricky, and this new process is we all have to have time to really feel comfortable with it. So we want to make sure you know that. But you really need to make sure that all of your policies and procedures are uploaded by the deadline. About a month before your scheduled on-site visit, we ask that you complete or disseminate the web-based parent survey. This is the same survey that was utilized before. It's 7 questions. It's located on the website that you can see on your screen, and you just send out notification asking parents in a variety of ways to participate in the online survey. The more participation you have, the better picture that you get on how families find out about the program and how they really feel about the program. We've found that the pre-K survey was, it gave us a lot of information on how families knew about the services and how they feel about how the classrooms are running and if they feel welcome in their school. So, we want you to get as many parent surveys as you possibly can. That will help give you a good snapshot of the parent perspective. We utilize the parent survey in lieu of a parent interview. Parent interviews are often challenging for parents to get to, and we understand that. And we get the voice of a lot more parents if we utilize the survey. We ask that you work with families who don't have technology. Maybe they can have access to a computer at the school, or you can have a kiosk set up for parents at the schools to do the survey. If parents are absolutely not comfortable with technology, what we've done in the past is allow counties to have families do a paper version, and then each county entered the results on the website, because we do have to have all the results electronically in order to aggregate trends in the answers to the survey questions. So that's approximately 30 days before we actually come on site for the pre-K program review. And then when we get there, we'll download the results. It's generated in an Excel spreadsheet, and then we aggregate the data for you in those two and create a parent summary report. And so the Excel spreadsheet and the parent summary report are submitted to you when you get your program review report as well. So you'll have 3 documents when all is said and done as part of your report. Step 5 will happen about 2 weeks prior to your visit. I will contact the pre-K coordinator in each county and determine the list of classrooms that will be visited. Your teachers are allowed to know we're coming. We don't want to surprise anyone. Your classroom administrators, we want to make sure that they are expecting us. Any classroom reviewer is expected to sign in the office the way that anyone in any site would be expected to. They should have their identification and check in with the administrator or the office. And sometimes it's a member of the review team that will be reviewing files. In other cases, it's other folks who have experience in classroom observations. There are many folks from throughout the state who do the observations for us as part of the review process. We have a pool of folks that are willing to go out and do the classroom observations. They're only about 30 minutes, 30-minute visits, and the Universal Pre-K Observational Walkthrough is the tool that's utilized when the reviewers visit and do the observations. In fact, teachers often say, "That's all? Aren't you going to do this, or aren't you going to do that?" So sometimes they want you to stay a little. The teachers wouldn't mind you staying a little longer. The reviewers look at lesson plans. They look at schedules on the walls, and they may ask 1 or 2 questions of classroom staff, but it's a small visit, and it's just a snapshot. The other piece of the agenda is the core team interview. I will work out with the county pre-K coordinator what time and the location of the interview, but we expect the core team to be a part of that interview. The Head Start representative, the child care or DHHR representative, special education representative, and the pre-K coordinator are those folks that we expect to be a part of that core team interview. And I kind of jumped ahead to talk about the site visits, but what we do, which is step 6 on the document, is we go to 20% of the classrooms. We try to get a diverse picture. So if you have a designated preschool special needs classroom, we'll probably visit one of those. If you have classrooms that are operated by Head Start employees, we'll probably visit one of those classrooms. If you have one in a child care center, we'll probably visit one of those. We like to see a variety of classroom options, so but it is 20% of your classrooms. And for those of you who only have 3 or 4 classrooms, it's really hard to go in and say, because we do a minimum of 3 classrooms. So we will at least be in 3 classrooms in every county. But if there are, for instance, I know in Pleasant County, there are 4. So we're just going to go in all 4 and visit each teacher there since they're so small. Let's talk a little bit about the interview, which is number 7. The interview, we don't know the questions that we're going to ask in the interview until we do the file review. So we'll actually come to the county with the questions based on the file review process, and it takes about an hour and a half typically. So that's what we'll schedule, is an hour and a half interview in the afternoon of the day of your visit. I already talked about the representatives who should be there. And then once we finish up, what our team does is we complete summaries for each of those 4 key areas from the desktop review, and each member provides a finalized summary. We'll all be working off the same document, so what we do is just some final edits, and then each member of the team has about 10 days to do their final edits, and then within 30 business days, the program review report will be sent to the county superintendent and CC to the core team members. So that report is actually a compilation of 3 documents. It's the actual summary, and then the raw data from the parent survey, and then the parent report, the aggregated parent report will be included in that too. If there are any items that require follow-up documentation or clarification, we will note at the end of the report when that is due, and that is electronically submitted to the pre-K steering team through through me, through the state pre-K coordinators. So, for instance, last year we had several counties who had to do follow-up based on early childhood classroom assistant teacher credentials. And so what counties did was they provided the follow-up documentation within 30 business days of the visit to follow up. And that's just one example of required follow-up. As we refine our programs, we see less and less immediate follow-up or required follow-up or documentation and clarification, because counties really are doing a good job of running our pre-K programs in the state, and it's very exciting to see the growth that each county has worked so hard to achieve, and we know that you all work very, very hard, and that's the approach that we really look at when we do this. We have a question about the survey. It says, does the survey is it 30 days prior to the visit or any time this year? We ask that it's 30 days prior to the visit so that it's the most current information. In fact, if we could do the survey a little later for those first folks, that gives parents a better opportunity to really feel out the program. So we kind of think the first ones, those who are scheduled for December, really kind of get the short end of the stick for the parent survey, because families haven't really had as much time as those who are being reviewed in, say, March. Those families actually have a couple more months to really get a picture of the program. So, but we do ask that it's within 30 days of the pre-K program review schedule. All right. I do want to share with you in the document we have, I'm going to go past our review checklist, the program reviewers checklist. And one tool that we use as a team when we're doing, when we're actually completing our file reviews are the team interview worksheet. So this is how we just keep track of follow-up questions that we have. So that's just a document that we use. We just like to share all of the tools that we utilize as we go through this process. The other document within, or the other tool within this document is the sign-in sheet. So when we come to do the interview, we will actually bring this with us and ask you to sign in, and our review team members sign in as well. And then the parent survey is the last document, or the last tool on the document. And you can see the link is on this document in several places, but then we also have a printable version of the online survey that you can utilize if you have families who are not comfortable with technology, with completing it online. They can do the paper version, but a staff person has to take their information and enter it into the online platform. And parents do not have to include their name. The only thing that we do ask that they put is the count of, they'll have a drop-down box on the website, and they list the county or the school that their child attends. So you can actually utilize the spreadsheets to look at trends within schools if you'd like. We don't do that. We look at it from a county perspective, but you can utilize the Excel spreadsheet to aggregate various parent reports and to share, with your classroom staff or administrative staff if you'd like to. All right, so let's talk about online submission. I'm pulling up the screen now for Office 365. And for those of you who are familiar with Office 365 and OneDrive, this will be a piece of cake. If you're not, some instructions will come with your share folder. So I don't want you to feel like, oh my gosh, I can't do this, I'm in the dark. We will help you, and we'll also provide some guidance with it, and there's also online tutorials that go with the system for Office 365. Microsoft has step-by-step tutorials as well. So there is help if you feel a little apprehensive about the online submission. But in order to get to your files or your OneDrive, first of all, you will get an email when I share your folders with you. So the pre-K coordinator for the county will get access to the shared files. So we go through one person to make sure that that it stays, seamless, and that everything kind of stays put once it's uploaded. So it will be facilitated through the pre-K coordinator, and I'm just going to take you to my OneDrive. If you don't know how to get to OneDrive, all you have to do is pull up a website, and then go to, you can even Google or Yahoo search apparently on mine, Office 365, and then it will take you, it'll give you access to the Office suite, and then you sign in under Work, School, or University, because this is a process that is facilitated through our K-12 accounts. And then up in the left corner, you'll see the little, looks like a Rubik's Cube. That's not the right terminology for it, but you just click on that, and it gives you access to all of your options. And your OneDrive is one of those boxes, and you click on OneDrive. And I'm going to make mine. I'm going to make it a little bigger here so you guys can see it better. Okay. You'll see that in my file, I already have a folder called 2015-2016 Pre-K Program Reviews. Now you're seeing a lot, and you won't see all of this because I haven't shared it with you yet. But what I will do is, and you can see on the screen that Kanawha County is first. The pre-K coordinator, I will share this folder with Carol, and what you'll get are 4 folders under the main folder, and then within each folder we have the folders based on the checklist that's in the guidance document. So when you look at the online folders, they match up with the desktop document checklist, and that's what you can use to create folders within each one. Now, what you'll do is, as you upload your documents, if you have more than one document for an indicator, for instance, 1.1, eligibility and enrollment, is A through E. So that's up to 5 different documents. You can upload the documents separately. If you have more than one document to support an indicator, you can create a folder, and all you have to do is click on New, and you can either create a new file, or you can create a new folder, and you just name your folder and create. So once you have access to this and you are able to upload into each of the folders, you will I'll be able to share, I'll be able to see those and then share them with the program reviewers that are going to be on that review team. Okay, so Rhonda shared that the little Rubik's Cube in the corner is referred to as a waffle. And she said she's serious. Thank you. Thank you, Rhonda. I didn't know that. Let me make sure I'm not missing any questions. One question is, do we need a folder in each indicator? You don't need a folder inside each indicator. If your files, you should label your files with what they are. For instance, the first indicator is the application systems, forms, and procedures. If you have an actual, with your actual application, it may be a multi-page Word document or PDF, and then your procedures might be separate. You can put them in a folder, or you can just upload your documents and just make sure that they're named appropriately, and we will go through each file to look at them to answer the questions on our checklist. So you don't have to have a folder for each indicator, but you can. Some people like, to organize with folders. Other people like to just put those in there. So it's much like if you already have, every county has a set of policies and procedures in a box from the last review. So it's like this, only it's an electronic version of that. If you want to put folders A through E, feel free to. If you want to label them, label your actual documents, you can do that too. That's completely up to you. Whatever system works best for you. We always say that it's our job to review and determine, but not tell you exactly how your system should look for this. So it's not, we appreciate being able to find things very easily, but we also know that your system is what works for you. So let's just talk for a minute about next steps. The next steps will be to share the files with each of you and send out the revised program review process. The one that is online is not the most current one. We will replace it with this one. But the one that we email is the one that we want you to utilize. And it includes the 10-step procedures. So when you get them and you get a chance to more, to delve into it, you can always call and ask us questions. If pre-K coordinators, for some reason, have not received your share file, we will give me a call. I will be sending those out between today and tomorrow. And so basically what you'll see is a main folder with your county's name, and then the subfolders within it. And there are 3 layers totally within the process. And as you get into it, don't hesitate to contact us, one of the steering team members. We're kind of slim right now. Yeah. Ginger and I are still here. Missy is transitioning one of her staff into our team, and Tracy Dalton has taken a job with 0 to 3, the National 0 to 3 organization. So they'll be hiring a new Head Start State Collaboration Director to be part of our team. So we know that this will be new for all of us, and we want to make sure that you all know not to hesitate to give us a call if you do have questions about this process. But it's basically, other than the online submission, it's the same as it was before. So we're just anxious to come out and visit and see how the process goes with the revision. Does anybody have any questions? I'm going to look and see if we have any more questions or if we have any hands raised. If not, we're going to conclude the webinar, and I'll get started sharing files and folders. You will all receive initially a first email from me that has the process in it. And then you'll start to get your links in your email for your shared folders. So on behalf of the steering team, I just want to thank you all. We look forward to working with you all this year, and like I said, give us a call. Ginger, do you have any? You did a great job. All right.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.